Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video we'll learn about props in React. In the previous videos I covered about what is state in React, how we can make use of the useState hook to manage the internal data of a component. Then we learned about event handling in React. Now in the very starting video I told you about component based architecture that React follows. So we know that components are reusable chunks of code, but there is one thing that we now need to understand, and it is how we can nest a component inside other component. Then another question that must come in our mind is how we can pass data of one component to another, meaning how can parent and child components communicate with each other. For that we need the props system of React that will help us to configure a component dynamically from outside the component. Oftentimes we want our JSX code to be dynamic and not static, and it should render different things based on the state of the application or the user input, for example. So for this we need the props system. Now every component that we define receives this special object called as props, and this object itself is passed into the component by React props that we can optionally use if required, and this object itself is passed into the component by React. This means that at runtime a new JavaScript object gets created using the data that we pass from outside. So say from outside the app component, that is from within the index.js file. If you funnel some data from right here by defining some say attribute, so prop1, and passing some data, for example say hello, like this, so you can basically funnel a prop and this will be passed to the app component. The app component will receive this data right here, and we can use this data right inside the component. So let us remove this because we don't require any prop in our app component. That is, we don't want to configure our app component from outside. So let's remove this. And we don't require props here, so let us remove this as well. So now we know what props is. Let us see some code in action. So right inside the app component, let us define an array of technologies, and here I will use the useState hook, and let us define an array of technologies. So for now let us omit the second argument that the useState gives us, and what we will do here is that we will define a new component and we will pass the list of technologies that I am going to define in just a minute to that new component, which will nest under the app component. So let us see how we can do this. First let us define the list of technologies. So name Angular is library, set that to false, and is client side tech, set that to true. So this is the structure of the technology object that we are going to use here. Let us copy this and paste it down below 3 times. Let us change this to React and is library, set that to true. Change this to Django, change this to false because it's a server-side technology, and lastly let us change this to view. Okay, so now we are done. So now let us define a new component and let's name it as technology list. So let us create a components folder right inside the source, and let us name the new component as capital T technology list.js. So right here let us scaffold our technology list component. So first we need to import React from React, and let us define our functional component for technology list. So const technology list, this expects some props that we'll pass in just a minute and returns some JSX. So right inside the function we will receive some data from outside the component, which is the list of technologies. So whatever data we receive from outside will be stored in the props object, and we will basically cycle over the list of technologies right inside this component. Now let us define a UL tag here. We will receive the list of technologies on the props object, so I can say props.technologies.map. So we are using the map method. Here we will take the technology that we are currently on as the first argument and the index at which this technology is sitting at in the list of technologies as the second argument, and then we will create a list item. We need to pass a key attribute, set that to index, And this thing I will explain later what React does with this key. And here we will render the technology dot name like this. So we are using the curly braces, and on each technology, as you can see here, we are having the name property, is library property, and is client side tech property. Then let's put a hyphen here and is library. So technology dot is library. So if it is a truthy thing, say yes, otherwise say no. Let's use single quotes. Then again a hyphen, is client side. So again interpolate the technology dot is client side tech property, and if it is a truthy thing, we are using the ternary operator, say yes, else if it's false, then we will render no, like this. And let us export our technology list component. So let's go back to the app component and import this technology list component right at the top. So import technology list from /components technology list like this. Let us nest the component right here by invoking it. So technology list like this, and here I will pass a prop of technologies like this. So here we are referring to our piece of state technologies that we defined right here, and we are passing this list of technologies as a prop to our technology list component. So whatever technologies are defined in the state of our app component, we are passing them to our technology list component using this props system. Let's go back to the technology list component, and here let me log the props object to the console to show you what we get. And you can see the list of technologies are getting rendered in the browser. So whatever technologies we were having in our piece of state technologies, we pass them as a prop to our technology list component, which is here. And you can see we are receiving them as a prop under the props object. And on logging this to the console, you can see we are getting an object props. And here are our 4 technologies that we passed. And right inside the technology list component, when we received them, we cycled over them and we rendered them like this. So we said props.technologies.map for each technology. We prepared a list item, and that is how we got the entire list from the entire list of technologies. So we mapped each technology to a list item. We got 4 list items inside our UL that got rendered in the browser. Okay, so here we are getting no for is client side. So let us see what is the problem here. So this should be is client side tech. Yes, so now everything is correct. Now let us go back to our app component, and let us also pass one more prop to our technology list component, and let us pass the onClick attribute as a prop to the technology list component. So onClick, and let's pass a reference to the function handle click that I will define in just a minute. So handle click, let us name this as handle technology click, and this as perform click. So let us define that right here. So handle technology click, and this will receive a technology name, and let us log to the console using template strings. Tech name was clicked like this. So now we are passing a reference to this function as a prop to our technology list component, and this prop name is perform click. So let us go back to our technology list component and receive this prop right there. So if we inspect the props object, you will see one more prop appearing on that, and here you can see on the props object now we have the perform click handler. So we have this function with us in the technology list component, and we can use it right inside the technology list component. Now what I want is on the click of each list item that is getting rendered in the browser, I want to log the technology name which the list item represents. So from right inside this component, we can invoke the onClick prop that we received here, because that holds the reference to our handle technology click handler, which is defined right here. We have passed this to our technology list component. and now it is sitting on the props object. So here on the li, let us add a onClick attribute, and let us set this to a reference to our handle technology click handler that we define in the app component, but you can access it using props dot, because now perform click serves as a reference to this handler, so we can run it on the click of the list item. So let's go back to the browser to see if it works or not. Let us click on this. Okay, so it doesn't work. So what are we doing wrong? As you can see, we are not passing the name of the technology here. So let us pass that. So let's use the arrow function, and to this we have to pass the technology name. So each time you are cycling over a technology, so you will receive a technology that you can pass here, but we need the name of the technology. So technology.name, like this. So let us go back to the browser and let's see it in action. If I click on the first list item, you can see it says Angular was clicked. Let's click on this one. Vue was clicked, React was clicked, Django was clicked. So it works great. So now let us go back to our technology list component, and let us change this list item itself to a new component. So here we are going to use the composition model of React as we did earlier, and let's go to the components folder and define a new component, and let's name it as technology item.js. So technology item.js. So right at the top of this file, let us import React from React. So const technology item props return. Here we will return some JSX, and then we can export it like this. And let us go back to the technology list component and change this li to technology item. So technology item, let us import the technology item component right here. So import technology item from / technology item, like this. And let us change this prop to this handle click, and again the handle technology click prop that we received here in the technology list component, we are again passing this as a prop to our technology item component, where we will run this on the click of the list item. So let's go back to technology item, and here on the props object, let us destructure this to receive the prop, which is this handle click. So let us copy this, let's paste it right here. So handle click, and then we'll also receive a children prop inside the technology item component. So the children prop is a special prop that React gives us on the props object that is used to access whatever you included between the opening and closing tags of the name of your component, which is this text. So this will be received on a special prop named as children. So let us go right in the technology item component and destructure this out as well. So now we have both these props. Let us prepare our list item. So on the click of the list item, I want to execute the handle click function, and this points to this function, which itself points to this perform click function that points to handle technology click, and finally this runs. And let us render the children as well, which is this text. So let's go back to the browser to see if it works or not. So now if I click on this first list item, you can see we are getting Angular was clicked, Vue was clicked, Django was clicked. So this works exactly the same, but now we are using the composition model of React. So we are structuring our application into components. So this entire thing is our technology list component. Then inside that we have 4 technology items, which are itself components. So this was all about the video on props in React, where we learned about what props is, how to pass data from parent to child component, and vice versa. Then we learned how to nest our components using the React composition model. So if you liked the video, do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get the notification for all my upcoming uploads, and I will see you guys in the very next one.